Welcome to Mindless Entertainment. I am Jesse Milestone, and you're welcome. In case you did not have 45 minutes to spend watching my amazing but very in-depth review of Solo, I am breaking down the top most cringe-worthy moments into a bite-sized chunk for you to digest right here, so you can really just get a picture for what this experience is that you may be missing, hopefully are missing, or if you didn't agree with me, maybe you can figure out where I'm coming from a little bit better. But before we get into that, buy my t-shirt. My t-shirt is for sale now. My t-shirt is awesome. You should buy it. Why should you buy it? Because it's the best t-shirt ever designed. Also because I'm not monetized. Why am I not monetized? I am part of, in case you haven't heard about this, I'm part of the 6 month backlog of users waiting to get reviewed. I have been in the queue to get reviewed since January, making $0 off of any of my videos. So you can help me out by buying my t-shirt or joining my Patreon. Now that that's said and done, just so we know here, I didn't spend too much time being super concerned about the order. We're going 10-1 here. And except for one, which really I feel stands out to me as like the biggest, deepest dagger in the heart. I haven't spent too much time in the order, because if you want to go on the overall scale of like 0% cringeworthy to, oh dear God, please don't make me watch anymore, all of these moments are hanging out dangerously close to, oh dear God, please don't make me watch anymore. So there you go. And we're going to start with our honorable mention. Honorable mention for Solo is anytime Alden Ehrenreich's character says or asks a question. Any question. Usually it's, what are we doing? What are you doing? What's the plan, guys? What's going on? It's terrible. It's stupid. Han Solo is a person who generally chooses to know, and if he doesn't know, makes it up. This just makes him look more and more like a terrible Luke Skywalker type, which he's not. It just doesn't fit anything we've seen of his character at all, and it's frankly it's really annoying and makes me very much dislike this character that they're portraying here. So that's the honorable mention. So 10 we're gonna go right with the name, with the Imperial officer making up his last name, which was just dumb. If you didn't think so, if you thought that was a reasonable way to get a name, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do for you. You're hopeless. I'm sorry. But yeah, Imperial officer just being like, it was, especially Han being like, I don't have a family. I'm alone. Which is funny because he literally then spends the rest of the entire movie just trying to be with other people. So, okay, you're a liar now too. Add that to the list of things that are not Han Solo-esque about you. And the Imperial officer's like, alone. You can see him just, the gears turning. What words sound more like a last name than alone, but mean alone? Solo. That'll do, and that'll look really great on a big red plastic cup as well. It's dumb. I didn't need, that was never a thing I was curious about, by the way. They made such a big deal about it, like, you're gonna find out where his last name comes from. That was not a thing I was ever curious about. I was never like, oh my God, somebody please tell me why his last name is Solo, holy shit. Like, my last name is Milestone. I don't think people watch these videos going, oh my God, she has to tell me where that last name came from, because it's like a word in our language that has meaning, and I just can't believe it. It's so crazy. There has to be an explanation for this. There's no fucking explanation. It's a goddamn name. So that's 10. 9, let's just get this out of the way. Literally anytime L3 spoke, anything that character did was just like, ugh, please stop. I'm having flashbacks to college. That was not pleasant. Do you know how hard it is growing up being someone who's like, I'm an incredibly liberal person. All of my beliefs are so far to the left, and then going to college and being like, oh God, what the fuck are you people? I'm talking about SJWs, guys. They're bad. So that's number 9. Number 8 would be, and I'm gonna two for on this one. It's at the beginning, sort of some of the lines in the Sabacc game. Namely, when he walks up and says this ridiculously contrived on-the-nose piece of dialogue where he goes, I heard a story about you. I was wondering if it was true. This is not a thing you say, especially not like the first thing you ever say to a person you just met. But clearly the only reason he said it was to set up Lando's line, everything you say about me, heard about me, is true. Which is his best line in the movie, which is sad for his character. We'll get to that. And then that moment shortly thereafter where, you know, he does the whole little, because he's setting up his, I don't know what I'm doing character. So he's like, Sabacc. And so Lando's like, Sabacc. And they set themselves up for a nice turnaround for Lando to be like, Han, and he could have just been like, Han. And instead he was like, actually it's Han, but that's okay. Like, did you just become Canadian for a second there? Like, that's like the Canadian catchphrase, right? Like, oh, it's okay. What? It was just so, again, so terribly un-Han, so terribly stupid. I'm not buying the whole, oh, he's trying to play a character in this. Like, no, he's playing a guy who's not good at sabacc. He's not playing a guy who's just a fucking doormat pushover for the sake of getting Lando to believe his ruse. Like, there's no reason he can't be a little, like, masculine, dominant, challenging. Oh, right, I forgot! Because masculinity is evil! And because all us women have been attracted for it since the beginning of time, must therefore also be evil or flawed. Oh my god, how could I have forgotten? Anything manly is evil. Boom. You guys, someone should have reminded me of that, because this is embarrassing now. Obviously, I'm just wrong about everything. Okay, yeah, I have a cheat sheet here, sorry. So the thing about going off the cuff is sometimes you don't remember shit, so. Alright, so that was number 8, we're going to number 7. Number 7, these are actually 2 different moments that happen in the film, but they're basically the same thing. There's a moment, and that's, what's Qi'ra gonna say in that, teaser trailer of, when she's like, I'm the only person who knows what you really are, and he's like, what is that? And what does she say? You're a good person. She goes on this little monologue about how he tries to be so tough, but deep down inside, he's just a total softie and a good person. And then Tobias, Woody Harrelson's character, does the same thing sometime later. He's like, no, you're not like the rest of us. You're not all hardened and criminally, and you're a good guy, and you have a bright future. Which is like, what? The whole point of Han's character, the whole exciting part is we meet him and he's not that guy. And he to our knowledge, has never been that guy, maybe a long, long time ago. And we could watch the journey, maybe it'd be fun to watch him turned into that guy, which we don't, by the way. So to have them do that, that's just like sort of ruined the whole payoff of the original trilogy. Is you meet this total kind of scummy asshole dude who's like, I don't give a fuck about anyone but myself. I'm only saving this bitch because she's rich and has and she's gonna reward me handsomely. Into the guy who sticks his neck out again and again for his friends. So just rip that beautiful payoff away by just letting us know, in case you weren't sure, Han's really a good person. Han's really a good person. And since we've had 2 different characters tell him that he was a good person, we'll know that, so that our fragile feminist egos won't be bruised when we go back and watch the original trilogy and go, oh my god, he's such a toxic masculine man, I can't even deal with it. So that's why that one made it. 6 is a Lando moment. 6 is the moment where he's kicking back. Everyone's like doing shit on Kessel, and he was like, I just flew the ship here. I'm not doing anything else. And is just kicking back and like doing a video journal essentially, but it's like a hologram journal. And this is the most noticeable moment too. Aside from just being ridiculous and cheapening his character into this pathetic little, I don't even know. This is the worst part in the movie, where he has this sort of pseudo-British accent going on that like dips in and out and doesn't fit and doesn't seem to make any sense with this character whatsoever. So that's an issue. Yeah. So the rest of these are almost all Han moments with one brief section. 5. This is another twofer. It's a moment that happens basically 2 different times. It's the same moment twice in the film. The first time is he's going to sign up for the Flight Academy, and he's like, I'm going to be a pilot, best in the galaxy. And the second is after he clearly did not become the best pilot in the galaxy, or at least not in the Imperial Navy. He ends up on planet doing infantry stuff and meeting Woody Harrelson's character, and he's like, I got kicked out of the Flight Academy for having a mind of my own. And both of these are just these ridiculous lines. They don't actually give us any information. They're not useful. They're totally meaningless, and they're lacking in all explanation. Like, it would have been fine if the first one would have been fine if you had some buildup of like, oh, Han has always wanted to go be the greatest pilot ever. And in this moment, you're like, he's has this dream of having a ship so he can be free and run away, but he's only gonna be the best pilot. Like, this is a dream that he came up with a second ago, because for some reason he thinks this is the best way to then come back and rescue Qi'ra. So it's just out of nowhere. And again, okay, if we had some payoff for like, oh, how did you get kicked out of the Flight Academy? What brave and noble, independent thing that demonstrated your integrity did you do to get kicked out? No, you're just being a smarmy little bastard trying to impress your new friends. It's not interesting or cool. 4, And the next two, 4 and 3, I hate them for the same reason, basically. 4 is, I have a really good feeling about this, or whatever it is. I have a good feeling about this, which is, we all know Han's iconic line, I have a bad feeling about this. He says that all the time. That's a thing he says. He does not say, I have a good feeling about this. So once again, it's like, I don't know, are you trying to do character development here where you're like, oh, he used to be an optimist? Because it's not working, and it's just this whole, let me just lift something out of the original and just twist it around to make us look like we're clever. It would have been better if he had just said, I have a bad feeling about this. Like, what is so wrong with that, Disney? What is so wrong with paying off these moments for people? It would have been way more fun to be like, oh, I'm watching a solo movie, and no, there he goes saying, I've got a bad feeling about this. I don't need my expectations subverted every 5 seconds. Sometimes I just want a little goddamn gratification. Is that so much to ask? And by that token, but even worse, the number 3 moment goes to the moment, they're looking at the Millennium Falcon, which has now gone through the Kessel Run, and is this, like, shell of its former self, but actually looks more like the Millennium Falcon we know and love. And Han puts his arm around Lando, and Lando's like, I hate you, which was really funny. And so funny that the people in the theater laughed, and I think a lot of them missed the next line, which was, of course, Lando says, I hate you, and Han says, I know. That for me is like a just pour one out for the original trilogy right there. Just, it's dead. We're acknowledging its loss and its gonedness. I am sweating like crazy and I don't know why. So I'm just gonna dab off. What am I dabbing with, do you ask? It's a pair of pajama pants that are fuzzy and happen to be right here. Woo, dabbing. Oh, this is a lot of work. It's not. It's just hot in here for some reason. So in case you don't know, that was an ad-lib line in the original series. That was an ad-lib line that was just like, Han, say something. And so Leia goes, I love you, and I know. Which then is paid off so well in the next movie because the first time he says I love you to her, which is of course when she has a blaster, she says, I know. And you're like, oh my God. The framing of those two moments is one of the most perfect things in cinema. And guess what? The thing about perfection is it's good the way it is. It doesn't need anything else. It doesn't need your fucking help. So that's just like, wow. Way to cheapen that beautiful, organic, off-the-cuff moment and make it something it just isn't. I would have accepted this moment if it was a thing where, like, maybe after some crazy journey and maybe towards the end we're like, oh, we're all we have left. If Chewie does his little, like, head hug thing and goes, and Han says, I know. That would have been cute. That would have been sweet. That would have been like, yeah, I'd have taken that one. That I would have accepted, and I might have even enjoyed that. No, we can't have nice things. We can't have nice things anymore. We can't have nice things like badass female villains, which brings me to Enfys Nest's big confrontation. And you're like, yes, there's gonna be a crazy fight. And by the way, even with her big reveal, there still could have been a crazy fight first. Why are you depriving us of this? That's like the one thing the movie did well, was really, really fucking good action scenes. Give me another one. Don't just be like, she was only cool for one scene, but you can't think she's too masculine because then you'll hate her. So now you have to, but before the reveal, Woody Harrelson steps forward with like, I have something to say to you. And Han's like, no, I got this, bro. And comes in with his dumb shit like, we have a bunch of people on that ship ready to kill you, man. And it's totally undercut the next second because Lando flies away. Again, that's classic Disney Star Wars humor, is let's go for the cheap joke at the expense of the characters, at the expense of the reality of the moment. And so if you were wondering at this point, because it's getting close to the end of the movie, if you were wondering if Han had actually learned anything and developed and grew as a character, right here in this moment, we just want to show you, no, he hasn't. He's still the same uppity bitch that oversteps his bounds as we saw in the first one and doesn't have any good ideas. Or as we saw the whole movie, rather, and doesn't have any good ideas. So that was dumb. And then the second part of this moment, of course, is then Enfys Nest pulling off the mask, revealing she's like 15, and stands up for the people who can't stand up for themselves, and we call ourselves allies. Because Star Wars is not about metaphor or allegory anymore. Star Wars is not about us recognizing the humanism in ourselves by looking at these strange characters in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars is now about penciling out whatever is the trending SJW thought of the moment. Or like the popular social justice issue of the hour. That's what Star Wars is now. You're welcome. So we get to number one. We get to the number one moment. I think I'd blocked this from my memory because it was so painful. It is not even in my review, guys. So fun new stuff. The hands down, like, they land on this planet after surviving the Kessel Run, and Han is just like bouncing up and down, going up to just random people, being like, hey, guess what? We just made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. I'm like, no. I'm just no. My Han is the Han that sits back and goes, oh, you never heard of the Millennium Falcon? She's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Just like, duh. Fucking duh. This is how I do my life. I am da boss. I am the most matter-of-fact human being ever. This is just how it is. Not like, oh my god, guess what we just said? Guess what we just said? We're so special. Oh my god. So that for me was just, it was, of all the un-Han things that Alden Ehrenreich's Han is forced to do in this movie, that was probably the most un-Han thing that I could possibly think of. And it was stupid, and it made me sad. Very, very, very sad in my soul place. Because that's not a person, that character they showed us is not a person who develops into a Han Solo. I can promise you that, because I have been a person who has developed into a Han Solo type, thank you, and have known plenty of other ones, and guess what? They don't start like that. That is not the clay out of which you mold perfection. It's just not. So that's it. Top 10 most cringeworthy moments from Solo. And I will answer one more question for you, which is, of course, the thing you've been thinking this whole time. Jesse, did you really blow dry your hair even though you are about to, as soon as this video ends, go run a mile and a half, do a Krav Maga class, and run back and have to shower all over again? No. Why would you think that? God, that's so weird. Anyway, buy my t-shirt. Join me on Patreon. There's a PayPal link even if you want to just throw money at me this one time. Also, Grizzled is a movie that's trying to get funded, so share that Kickstarter link. It's about a giant mutant penguin, and I will be in it if it happens. So make it happen. And I love you guys. Happy Friday.